Hi everyone, can you guys hear me? I'm not sure why the YouTube stream's not showing yet, but... Oh, there it is. Okay, I took a long, I told you guys, off that 5864 hold. I did have a position into Monday that I had to end up averaging down on, and then did like a short hedge for that. Sorry, I got stuck on the phone with the bank. Today is October 3rd, 2025. Okay, hold on. I have some flips here right now, guys, so just FYI, these were the earliest odds for getting back to OR. Can you guys see my screen or not yet? I don't know why it's not showing. MARA had a pretty nasty stall off that 1952, 1956 area and then reversed back. Almost everything had a pretty big reversal, but I did notice that Apple was still quite strong and held that 257.22, 257.20 spot, guys. So this was still a really big hold here. We had some odds right here around like 219, 221, 224. I definitely wanted to break OR before 230 just so we have like that nice 230 window to see if we can get back to some core ranges here. NQ had a really good structural hold here too, held off that 24,928, 920. Back to that 25.10, 12 spot. So see what kind of ranges we can get here. XOM was one of my long trades from yesterday off these lows. Especially off that 117 spot. It had a really good cleared open this morning. And it came back, took out that 113.10 pretty early. Stalled that 113.28, which was pretty expected. And now getting very, very close to hitting my targets. My top range on this was that 113.85 to 94 today. Maybe it could go actually a little bit higher. 114.12 was an expansion on this one. Okay. I don't want to get too distracted, guys, remember? So Google just stalled that 247.04. That's the overhead on this. Set some alerts for 246.46, 247.04. Bitcoin is pretty obvious. Stalled our 123 mark. Well, 123.829. Kind of making a nice reversal here now. Some good breaks here on ES, right on time. Should be able to capture some good trades here, guys, off these lows. This was a nice short. I missed most of it because I was stuck on this stupid phone. I only caught it off the 7-8 failure. I missed this whole part right here. And the line disconnected and I had to call back. It was pretty annoying. I want to see if this one gets back over, because it did breach that 1857 but held that 50% range. I want to see if it gets back over 1905. So I have some alerts set there. 1888, 1905. That could get it moving again. Let's see here. What else? XOM hitting that 7.3 mark. I'm just going to set some alerts to that 8285. Okay. What's weak? $18.88 is the first overhead, then 1905. Like basically if it wants to save this, especially after... So the way I looked at it was, you see how much range it broke above that 5.2 spot? Like the 5.2, 5.3? Pretty much broke beneath the 5.7 to 5.5 area by a similar type range. It was about like the 5.1, this area here. It's about like maybe 10 cents. Maybe a little bit lower, but you get the idea. This is like that 55 is that core spot, right? 55, 57. Does that make sense? So it basically, even though it went below, it still technically, because it had an implied move of 10 cents above 5152, it implied that it could afford having a risk of like 10 cents beneath 5755. Does that make sense, guys? So that's the only reason why they could maybe try neutralizing it off that area there. If they only bring it back to the half range, though, I would imagine it would be probably off of, like this is like a point and a half, like probably back here somewhere. I think that's the half range. Yeah, around 1905. Okay. Let's see here. I want to start cleaning this up a little bit. So this was still a good stick back to OR. And there's some odds right here. I kind of wanted them to break the 7-8 before 230, but we'll have to see. Oh yeah, I know. CIBC is the worst sometimes. I don't usually bank with them, but... Yeah, they could. I mean, they still held the 5758 area. I mean, this is still obviously a pretty volatile spot, but they could just consolidate these areas too this afternoon. That's why I don't want to get too carried away. And another reason why I only did a few dailies off this spot here, and then the rest are all for Monday. I just didn't want to get too carried away and then have a stall or something. 1888 getting retested here. XOM stalling right at that 113.73. I don't know how you guys missed this play. Why didn't some of you guys take this yesterday from down here? These contracts went up like 600% from this move. This was actually a really, really good move on XOM, and it's been durational. Like, it hasn't stopped. Thank you. All right, that's a good break of 1888. Tesla basically stalled that for 44, whatever that calculated spot is, 446. What's our calculated spot up here? 446.80 or something like that. And broke down support a little bit. It needs to get back at least above this 422 here, okay? Yes, getting some nice stick breaks here ahead of 230. This is exactly what we want to see, especially before this 230 frame. Windows kind of between 224 and I guess basically like 228. It was such a nice move. Always set alerts on XOM around those price points. I had alerts go off. That's the only reason why I traded it. All right, see what happens here on these next stick breaks. So ideally, we do want to get back into the zone above 6688. Does anyone know how many ranges we've moved? I never had a chance to even look at anything. I just kind of like blindly went long because I was like, this is a good spot, but I was so distracted. Oh, so they did take out 44 points just a little bit. That's not too bad though. But above those calculated ranges, like 9.6, they still held, so that's good. I would say that if they maybe took this a little bit lower, closer to 5.1, we would have been at a bigger risk. 17 points from OR is how low they went. Well, OR was what, 7.2 or so, like 7.2 something. What was OR? 7.275. So yeah, same thing. Like maybe 1 to 2 points beneath 17 points, or like 1 to 2 points beneath 44 points from the highs. No, I took calls from next week. I started rolling some of my calls back in here, and then I got so distracted I had to like heavily average down on those. And then I was lucky that I was able to still at least do a short hedge in here, so that kind of helped offset some of that. I think Apple's getting that break. Did any of you guys take that Apple long that I shared down here off 257.22? This was a good long too on Apple. It was also because a lot of names were starting to hit like major support, so I was like, there's a pretty good chance that they'll bring this back, you know? Yeah, I did Monday's expiration for the majority of this. Like, I only played a pretty small amount for today off those lows. Oh wow, those are almost at my target. I could probably change that then. And I stayed, well, I thought I was in the money. I did the 670s, which ended up obviously coming way lower, but now they're at the money. But yeah, almost had a heart attack when I looked at the screen. Okay. So this is kind of the bigger overhead here. The calculated spot's closer to like 03, 04, but if that thing can get back over 05, this could... Basically, the setup I'm seeing on this from a structural view, guys, is you see how it like bearish engulfed? Do you see that? But then technically took out the previous high, like that previous 4152 area, even though it didn't take out yesterday's highs. This could still come back in bullish engulf and take out that 1975. I know it sounds crazy, but like let's say crypto gets some crazy push into the close and takes out all-time highs or something like that, or like closes above these all-time highs since it already took it out, like this previous high, and then comes back and tests that 124. Does that make sense? Then we could see a crazy move on MARA. So this could be in play for crypto. Okay, let's focus a bit here because these are the flips. So where do they bring this to? 679. 679 is pretty good for this point in the day. I'm just going to mark these here just to see what kind of odds we have. And this is where this is going to start getting pretty tricky. It's like right around this 19 mark. Do I have alerts set on this? Yeah, I do. I'm going to set an alert at that 678150 just because it is a pretty important area. You guys can take some off here if you wanted. Like this is still a pretty big spot. Like these, how much points is that off lows? Oh, they already, this was the 17-point break here, I'm guessing. This was 22 right here. Oh, so they stalled 22 the first time by like 0.25. So this is coming back to the 17, 22 point range. They stalled 25 points. So yeah, if they bring this back 34 points, that's basically back to the zone. I would take some off here though. This is a pretty big spot. So that order I had was definitely on the right track. You thought we were waiting for Monday? What do you mean? Waiting for Monday for what? There's some big reductions here, guys, after stalling like a midpoint range. These are really big spots ahead of 230. That's why I was kind of hoping that they would take out 7981 before 230, just because this area could apply some volatility here. Thank you, Slipperman. Thank you. I hope you had a good week this week. It's kind of a crazy afternoon, but let's see if we can get some negation sticks here. You're the best. Thank you. We definitely would have to at least get back over like OR at this point, which is technically the 7-2 spot. Otherwise, I would start de-risking. Okay. NQ stalled at 25.39. So basically on NQ, we want to get back to here. On ES, we want to try getting back to here. See if they can negate this quickly. That's a good negation stick. Good de-risk for today or for next week. Sorry, caps lock, I'm not sure what you're asking. I already had taken calls for Monday. I took them like back in here. I had to average down on those down here, and then I took calls for today's expiration here. And then I did a short hedge right here. It's not a big position though. I had just done that though mostly because I didn't really like the volatility, and I knew that we already potentially hit max range on the session today. So I knew that we could be limited on that, at least for today's session. Plus we have some flips on the 5th and 6th, so if they decide to bring it back next week, then at least I have some time off those areas. But it would be relative to where we close. Like I would definitely look at covering into the close if they stalled or something like that. Does that make sense? Also, guys, remember that you have to resub with your Amazon Prime every month. Unfortunately, it doesn't just auto renew. You have to resub, which is pretty annoying, but this is the 36 window. So 3-2, we had some reduction, sadly. 5 points. That's probably this area here. Yeah, it is our 81 spot. So this is still the overhead here around 8125, 8150. We'll see if they can sustain structure here. We probably want to hold off the 6.8 range. See if they can get that retractment here for 3.8. Retesting OR here off that 3.8 stick. At least they're trying to sustain this 7.172 area here, so that's okay. Nice. I got new emotes. Still looking a bit risky here. I think they need over 8.150. Oh. most of my position is for next week. It's not for today. I only grabbed a few calls for today down here, just in case they brought it down, because I knew it'd be volatile. I already covered half of those on that 7-9 test. There still is time, though, is the only thing. Like, we still have an hour and 20 minutes left here, so I would prefer that they bring it back above like 8.4, 8.5, 8.8, but we'll have to see. If they keep it stuck in these core ranges, that's also okay, because these are really calculated spots for us, but obviously stabilizing would be better above 8.8. We'll have to see what they do here. I still have the short hedge too. I didn't fully cover the short hedge. My break even is up here. My stomach hurts today. I want to see if they can try reclaiming some of this range here above 7.4 by 4.2. MARA stalling that 1905 mark. It did take out 1888, but kind of stalling like right in between here, like between the 88 and 05 mark. $7.4 retest here ahead of 4.2. This is good. This is setting up for potentially a good structure break here at 4.2. We'll see what they do. The issue is we've already basically hit potential max ranges for the session today, so it's not like the market owes us anything. Do you know what I'm saying? 7.450 tested here ahead of 4.2. See if we can get at least a close above this 7.225. What was the opening range for today's session? Like the real-time session? 7.2. So I would say losing this area at this point in the day is where we'd be at risk of potentially coming back beneath that 6.6 mark. So I definitely would want to try sustaining around this point here. You're short from what area? That's kind of relative to time, so it just depends on how much time we have left. Like, there's still an hour, so I mean, you have to kind of factor in how much range we have for the whole session, how much range we're at from highs. So we're basically back to half the range. So we definitely need to be at least above like 7.7, 7.8 at a minimum, like before 3, to even have an odd of retracing back the remaining 50%. Does that make sense? Whereas if we're at like, let's say, like a 66 to 75% range, like in here, then your odds are pretty high that you could not only retest it, but potentially take out that range. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's where you could extend. It's like hovering the main support line here. Hi, Dunks. It kind of depends. I was trying to stream the mid-session today, but I got stuck on the phone. But it just depends on the day. Sometimes if it's a choppy day, if it's for consolidating, then I won't stream. If it's an opening range day, I'll stream early. If it's an end of day break, I'll stream later. Just depends on price action. Apple coming back to this 258.74 spot. ES so far still stuck here. And coming back to these ranges off that 248, 250 window. Ideally, we want to be above these spots before 3, otherwise that's going to put us back at risk of still coming back beneath 6.6 and heading back to the means. We're trying to avoid coming back beneath 6.4 at this point, otherwise we're going to be at major risk heading into Monday. So what do you guys think? Where do you think they're going to take this to by that 3 o'clock window? I'll set that to 2 minutes. Starting to break down range here a little bit. Six being retested here ahead of 250. Can you guys vote on that, please? This one here is still stalling, coming back beneath that 7.6 line. Most things are pretty much capped on the range, on their range for the session today. So NQ coming back to that 24.993. an 8.4 mark. See if ES tries to negate back at 250 through 254. Can we get more votes, guys? Please. See if they can get this back over that 6975, and then I would say 7.2 by like 5.4, 5.5. That would probably set this up in a good like mid position, at least like above 6.6, beneath 7.9. Does that make sense? This is kind of the midpoint. That'll give us an idea of direction. Sorry guys, I need to focus here. I have a bunch of positions that I have to manage before the weekend, so I'll answer questions like that after. Do you guys see how they're basically stalling 7.9 and barely sustaining 6.5, 7.5, 6.6? Like, market knows that this is the area that basically implies risk. This is the area that implies upside reward here into the close. Do we have any catalyst at 3 o'clock, you guys? I forgot to check. No? All right, let's see what they do here. So back over that 6.9 spot. So that condition I would say is met. I was thinking they probably need to get back over at least this 77.1 area by like the 5.6 mark. And ideally back over probably 7. What do you guys think? By 3? I feel like they need at least 7.225, but ideally that 7.4 mark. I feel like 7.4 would obviously be a lot better for odds there. We'll see what they do here because this is a pretty tight window. What's that? 77 is 22 off lows. But off like the ideal area though. There we go. 70.5071 being tested here. I set an alert just because figured this is probably the area that has to be broken at this point here. Like 70.25, 70.50. Ideally 71.25. Actually, no, ideally it would be 7.2, but I'm not sure if we can get 7.2 at this point. I was just looking for maybe 70.25, 70.5, because at least it'll give us a better odd of tagging this 7.2, 7.4 before 3. Tagging that ahead of 3 is going to be a lot better for odds than tagging it at 3 or after 3, okay? For NQ, it's going to be this 25.12, 25.10. The midpoint between here and here is like probably 25.25. So on ES, the midpoint's going to be between like here, so like 7.6. So that 7.6 makes sense because that would be the 2.2. That's basically the midpoint between 7.9 and 7.2. Mid is 7.5, 7.6. Okay? Does that make sense? OR being retested here ahead of 3. What did you guys vote before 3? Did majority vote yes or no? I actually didn't see. This is also not an easy trade. Like this session today is a pretty tough one. Especially when you're trading within 3 different areas, like a zone, a channel. It's good for volatility. We caught this nice long this morning off here. The short, I would say, is once they failed that 99.1. I didn't mark these, but on the report, 90.75 or 90.50. These are the calculated areas, which we probably should have marked. But these are really good sessions for capturing multiple directions and range. So I like trading days like this, but I know a vast majority can struggle a little bit. 7.2 being tested here, guys, ahead of 3 o'clock. Ideally, if we can tag closer to 7.4, 7.6, that would be even better. The minimum condition would be the 7.225 area. They're like just barely holding on here though. What do you guys think? Give me the 259 candle before it happens. Because this point in the day I think is going to help determine just how much range we might get for the last part of the session here. I'll watch the 30-second turnaround. Yeah, but this is calculated. We just wanted it close to 7.2, 7.225 ahead of 3. I would have preferred closer to 7.4 though. If they break at 3, it just can imply volatility, guys, so just keep that in mind. How much time is left in this candle? We'll probably do it in the, yeah, see? That's a first, second break right at 3. So this is okay, guys, but this could imply volatility here. I would have much preferred that at the 5.9 versus the 3 o'clock mark, okay? Watch the first 2-minute follow through here. If they can tag close to 7.4, 7.6. I don't have 7.6 marked, but that is the intermediate point here. Okay. We'll watch the 305, 304 marks too. Those are generic flips for post 3 p.m. typically. Yesterday we had calculated flips at 02, 03. I'm not sure if they would roll over today. I actually didn't have time today to do any time calculations, sadly. But I would imagine that that's probably the window here. Could we also just stay stuck this afternoon in core areas? What do you guys think? I think that's a pretty high probability, especially if they don't start clearing this area here by like 3:30. So some reduction sticks coming in here after stalling. Yeah, I think that's a pretty high probability, actually. Unfortunately. I would still prefer to get back into the zone area, but they need to start moving here a bit. And mostly because of the range that they stalled at. So like anything that's above 22 but beneath 33, so like 24, 25, 26, 20, those are usually choppy type ranges where you can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Does that make sense? Let's watch the 5. So 305, we're looking for a reset of 3 o'clock, okay? We're trying to see if they can do that proper structure break this time. Because this is probably the area that would either give up the range or try retracting it back. Can someone document this stick, please? 305, trying to reset. I gave ES basically a 5-minute window for the 3 o'clock resets. This is a general rule that I made up, by the way. You guys can always use it too. So it's basically a reset of this, okay? And we'll see if we get follow through on the 06, 7, 8 sticks. Make sense? How much time is left in this candle? 7, 2, 25 tested. Hopefully they give us a better close this time though. That's okay. That's still a bit shy. I still would have preferred to close at least 7-2. Like at least here. But that's okay. This could still give odds of potentially claiming that 04, or sorry, 7-4, 7-6 mark. But that still implies delays. Like they could progress slightly, but then still delay. Does that make sense? So far to me, this looks like they're keeping this stuck in core ranges. MARA I think is getting that retest here. These are the midpoints that we set kind of in between here. If ES stays stuck like this, guys, this afternoon, I probably will cover my daily position and just keep those calls for next week. Because I don't want to get stuck in like a chopping type of range either. I did cover half on that first test of 7-9 back here. I want to see if 08 would break back. All right, there's that break there on MARA. I wanted to see basically if it would try taking out this 1898.19 overhead to try getting back to the spot is close to like 03, 05. I think that's what would give us a better or more constructive move. I think crypto has to also come back over this 123 spot. I thought I had an alert set there. Oh yeah, I do. ES has some odds again here at 310. So maybe this will be the better reset this time. Unfortunately, they are delaying some of these ranges. We'll see what kind of breaks we can get this afternoon. Okay, that's the first closing stick above that 7,250. It's still not a constructive move though. Like ideally you would have wanted this stick to be like this. Okay, this stick to be like this stick to be like this, but it still can imply that 7-4 retest here by 312. Is this stream helping you guys at all here? Like, I always wonder in tight ranges like this, like I know that we can't really break beneath this 6.5, 6.6 area, but I also know that we have to break 7.9. We're not going to get any major breaks in range until they clear one side. So this is kind of a shitty battle between these two areas here, basically. Like you'll progress once you get above here. Odds are higher right now though for bulls than they are for bears, because at least for bulls they took out 7.9, right? For bears they never took out 6.5, 7.5, 6.6. Does that make sense? Really nice stick there off that 11 mark. MARA also getting that 19 break here. So see what kind of spots we can tag off that 312. Maybe if ES also breaks here, this could give some good odds. That's exactly where I thought it would stall. So you guys see that reduction that they had earlier down here? Like here? Do you see this? Back here? Ahead of 3? It's gonna keep, or like even like the break above right here. So basically there's an offset of about 50 cents. So higher odds of stalling like closer to 7.5, 7.550, 7.575. Does that make sense? Let's see what kind of an immediate reduction stick off that 7.6 stall. 7.6 is a little bit more calculated. Okay, this is the spot on MARE that I was thinking is a little bit calculated around 1903. I figured it'd probably stall there before tagging that 1905, and it seems like I was right so far. This is also, I think, 50% of that range, and you can kind of see some of the volume coming in. So my thoughts were if it takes out this 1903 area, okay, and proceeds to push through 1905 with liquidity, this has a decent shot of at least getting back to like that 1932 to 41 retest. We'll see what they do here. ES stalled a little bit, kind of just stuck. I'd still be a little bit cautious here because it's still battling between 6.6 and 7.9. So far the current overhead is 7.6. Let me just mark this. Like I said, they're probably going to wait till imbalance prints closer to like 328, 330 if they're going to break range here. This seems pretty stuck, so I'm going to mute myself again if that's okay, guys. My throat's kind of sore.